Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us here on WCNC Plus after the Olympic Zone just ended. We are going to continue the news here up until 9 o'clock as we make our way towards the 11 o'clock. We do have a big issue on 77 North right now near Remount Road. It is partially closed. At least one of these lanes is going to be closed as we show you this live footage here. This is a crash. It has closed one of these lanes. You can see that it seems like two cruisers are already on scene. I believe these are North Carolina State Highway Patrol troopers who are at the scene right now conducting this investigation. But things are slowing near the Uptown area. Mile 8 near, or I should say on I-77. At one point, we had two lanes closed, so they have done a lot of work in the last 20 to 30 minutes to get this back open. This started at 7:30, and we believe the ending time is at 9:30, so you could see this issue linger into the 9 o'clock hour potentially. But of course, we'll update you up until the 9 o'clock hour if we see any other updates. But the impact to this is going to be high for any individuals who are making their way along I-77. And we do have an updated end time. It's been moved from 9:30 to 8:15. So they expect to open up that last lane. As I said, two of three lanes were closed at one point in time when this happened at 7:15. The two left lanes were closed, but now we only see one lane closed. So they are directing traffic. Please give them room, and please slow your speed down if you are heading out on 77. Let's go now. We had seen and actually firsthand had a look at the Buddhist monks who made their way through our area a couple of weeks back before the snowstorms hit. So now they have made their way to Washington, D.C., and will continue their journey. They spoke just a few hours ago in Washington. Let's listen into this.
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum. Namaste. My question is, how do we reconcile the belief that we must be still and we must be at peace with our duty to act in the name of justice? So how do we reconcile both our duty for justice and our belief of stillness?
Respected Pen Bhikkhu Bodhi, I would like to invite you up here.
Okay, so Venerable Panya Kara has requested me to answer that question. And I think it's a very extremely important question because in my opinion, in the situation that we are facing in this country and around the world, inner peace is certainly an essential requirement, but we also need justice. Because what we see taking place in this country right now, I have to tell you, I'm 81 years old. I grew up during the period of the 1960s when we had the civil rights movement, 1964, 65, voting rights, civil rights. Wow, the country is opening up, losing its heritage of racism and discrimination. The anti-war movement against the war in Vietnam, we're coming to an era of peace. Then early 1970s, the feminist movement, women's rights are coming to the front of our social consciousness. And now what are we facing? I have to say, sadly, it's almost a reign of terror, where people are being terrified. School children afraid to go to school from fear that they're going to be grabbed off the streets and sent to a prison or detention camp. Workers afraid to go to work. Families being torn apart. So it seems that we have to balance this inner peace with what I call a strong commitment to conscientious compassion. That is, compassion inspired by a sense of conscience, a responsibility for the welfare of all our fellow citizens, all the residents of this country, and indeed a universal compassion for all human beings around this world. And do we have a Loka here?
Yes, we do.
All sentient beings around the world. Yeah, so we have to combine the quest for inner peace with this conscientious commitment out of compassion to ensure justice and promote really the well-being, safety, and security of people who are in trouble, endangered. But I'm just a stupid monk, so I don't really know very much.
Hello, on behalf of the United Tribes, we have a question. What is your message for our children and our next 7 generations?
Oh, here's a
Children, for me in this world, not just the United States, but I think we lead our children to a different path already. It's because we live in this world dependent on technologies too much, way too much. Look around us in our family. A child will have an iPad, iPhone, smart tab, things like that. The more they use it, the more they'll be sidetracked because a lot of distractions around on social media, on the internet and everything. And like us, I talked about earlier, the phone is always a problem because we depend on it too much. Imagine how many phone numbers we remember back there. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, how many phone numbers we be able to memorize? The whole phone book? Probably. How about now? How many phone numbers that we actually memorize by heart? Probably 3, 4, 5 phone numbers. So what is the problem? I believe it's because we depend on technologies. Back then, you have to dial the number within our head. We have to use this head, say the number, and we dial it by hand. Now, tap, 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 Nikki, Ken, just put the letter N and K, it will show up everything, and then we just dial. We losing our memories each and every time. And that is how we train our children to go on the same path. And sadly, for me, my point of view and what I can see, our future generation will have a big problem. So in order for us to change our future generation, we have to start, become a role model for our kids from now. Stay away from the phone as much as possible. There's nothing wrong with it, don't get me wrong. It's just that we depend on it and we use it way too much. Versus before, we didn't even have one, we still survive. And now probably we could not survive if we don't have one. Imagine if there's internet outage and we're gonna call the internet company and complain all day long because of no internet. We could not survive. It's very difficult for us. So dependent on technologies is going to kill us. Our brain, our mind is shrinking every day Back then, we can use our head to calculate a math. How about now? We have to use a calculator. We have to use a phone to calculate a very simple math. Just that alone, we are leading our children to a very, very wrong direction. So if we could, starting from here on, we need to train our children again, not to depend on technologies too much. Thank you.
My question is simple. How do we become more intentional about morality?
More morality. Well, for us as a Buddhist monk, we practice mindfulness every day. Like I mentioned about it, if we are mindful enough, we know what we should and what we shouldn't do. Without mindfulness, we could commit into a lot of things, right? So we always have to train ourselves to have mindfulness, to be aware of everything happening around us, what's popping up in our head. The more we stay focused and aware, the better we are. And mindfulness is the answer, the key that we need to practice. To be honest with all of us here, mindfulness is missing, and people been living without mindfulness. It's very tough for all of us. We missed out mindfulness. Because of unmindful, we have done a lot of things. All the things happening around us is also because of unmindful. So we need to train ourselves to be mindful, to know what we should and what we shouldn't do. Thank you.
What is your response to Christian nationalism? And say a word to all religions at this time, particularly Christians in this country.
For me, after 17 years of ordaining, I respect all religions. And I'm very grateful to take on this journey to walk that far from Fort Worth, Texas to here. And I'm very grateful that all churches open the door to host us, to give us food, to give us place to live, to stay overnight. And we are here in this beautiful church, in this very holy place. So for me, I have never talked about religions, regardless of what they talk about Buddhism. It doesn't matter to us it really doesn't matter to us what they say, what people say. But for us, when we practice, we respect all religions. Because to me, all religions teach people how to live, how to be a better person in this society, how to support society, and how to support this country, our country where we live in. And of course, earlier at the church, the pastors told me that there's over 100 kids studying every day, go to school there every day, and of course all churches, all places, all temples are also teaching our future generation to be a better person in this world. So for us to talk on behalf of all the religions, I don't have that knowledge. But I do have one thing that I share along the road. I said, we have different backgrounds, different beliefs, different religions we practice in every day. But after all that practicing, we go into the church, we go into the temple, all reverend, all pastor, all venerable monks, all gurus, all teachers are teaching people how to be good. But in common, after all that, we do have one religion in common, which is the religions of love and kindness, compassion, and peace that we are seeking for every single day. We worshiping every single day, and that temple, that church is within our mind. So that is the answer that I could answer. I respect all religions, and now that we are in this church and out there so much, and right here so much faith leaders joining us, this world should be like this for me. It should be like this. There's no need to be separate or any division at all whatsoever. Thank you.
Bonte. No, please.
We have small tokens of our ministry here that we would like to present to you. I present to you a pin that represents the Episcopal Diocese of Washington, D.C.
And we have a pin of your visit to the cathedral. Thank you very much. Ponte Kima.
You can start and wrap up with thanks.
Yes.
With the deep gratitude, I offer my heartfelt thanks to Bishop and all Christians, Muslims, Hindus, Jewish, Buddhist, amongst our teachers and teachers of our teachers, and Sikh, Baha'i, indigenous, and interfaith and spiritual leaders who embraced our call and joined the National Cathedral welcome on such a short notice. You opened your hearts and made this sacred place feel like home to everyone. When the George Washington University Center of Interfaith and Spiritual Life ran out of options to host these peace walk monks in this cold weather, we will never forget how you opened your doors of the cathedral. And of course, the Methodist Church and of its sanctuary to give the venerable monks warmth, space, and care. Hebrew 13:2 reminds us, do not neglect to show your hospitality to strangers, for by doing that some have entertained angels without knowing it. You may wonder why Buddhist monks saying so. It teaches that hospitality is a sacred duty, and that when you welcome a stranger, you may be welcoming someone far more important than you realize. Just as Abraham welcomed angels, these monks and our beloved Aloka have shown us how peace, unity, mindfulness, and acceptance can be lived every day. I want to share a small story. When we told the Reverend we need a bigger hall for devotees to offer lunch, he said immediately, take the sanctuary. I hesitated and said, are you sure? People may spill drinks and you may have to wash all the cushions. Because I studied in a Catholic school, I know how sacred the sanctuary to you, all of you. His answer was simple but full of wisdom. He said, When a visitor comes to your house, you treat them the best way you can. We can clean after. Welcoming them comes first. That small moment showed how deeply all of you prepared, cared, and stood together to welcome the monks. A sanctuary is not opened by one person alone. It opens only when the whole community shares the same generosity. The monks themselves walk not only 2,300 miles, but the monks' profound path the Buddha taught, a path where even in the face of hardships, one holds no anger. The Buddha said, even if someone cuts you into two pieces, if you hold anger, you are not following my path. These monks embodied that teaching. Their gratitude shines in the story of Aloka, the humble dog who walked with them and received their boundless care. Their loving kindness was tested and proven after the tragic accident on their journey, yet they continued walking with compassion. No bitterness. They showed the world what inner peace truly looked like. Hosting the Peace Walk monks in Washington, D.C. involved many moving pieces. Some well planned, some completely last minute. But all unite by one intention: peace. On behalf of the Peace Walk Monks DC hosting team, I sincerely apologize for any inconvenience you may have experienced. Your patience and support carried this effort more than you know. May all you be well, peaceful, and happy. May the blessings of this gathering continue to uplift our communities. May you all be well and happy. May this be our peaceful day. Thank you.
The venerable monks have more traveling to do. We'd like to keep them here for quite a while, but they need to get back on their journey. My brothers and sisters and siblings from faith community around the Washington, D.C. area, and for all of the venerable monks, we share so much in common. Our loving kindness, peacefulness, compassion are essential values of all of our faiths, and we should never, ever forget that. And it is a great witness to have all of you here, and we need to stay connected to one another. So thank you. Thank you for being here. What we'll do first is we will invite the venerable monks to exit down the center aisle, and then we can all follow behind them if that suits. Thank you for coming and being here and giving of your time this day.
All right, folks, that rounds out that part of our stream. We're going to go to take a 2-minute break, and of course, we'll have more right after this. All right, folks, we are back. Senator Schumer hosted some of the Epstein victims earlier today, as there's this ongoing treasure trove of these files that are being released or have been released. But we know that certain congressional Republicans and Democrats are going in and taking a look at these files. So let's go into this right now as we listen in to say what they have to say.
Morning. Good morning. Let me start by saying Democrats are more steadfast than ever in our demands to reform ICE and remove Christie Nome. Every week we learn more disturbing information about the damage this administration is doing in our communities and how this agency is failing the American people. It's not just Democrats calling for meaningful changes. Recent Quinnipiac and Marist polls both showed nearly 2/3 of Americans disapprove of ICE's enforcement of immigration law. The American people are fed up with what they are seeing in their hard-earned tax dollars going toward brutalizing the law-abiding immigrants, detaining children, breaking into homes and cars, and killing U.S. citizens. Democrats have put forward a list of common-sense changes we want to see in ICE. Our asks are simple. They're not extreme. We want ICE to be held to the same standards as our local law enforcement. Yet Republicans seem hell-bent on shutting down the Department of Homeland Security because they don't want to impose these changes that include removing masks, requiring judicial warrants, and prohibiting excessive use of force. Our proposal has been in front of Republicans since last week, and we stand ready to work with our colleagues to enact solutions to reform these critical agencies while protecting FEMA, TSA, and the Coast Guard. But we will not continue to spend Americans' tax dollars to a lawless agency headed up by an out-of-control cabinet secretary until there is more accountability. Democrats are focused on keeping our communities safe and making life more affordable to the American people. It's time Republicans finally join us in those efforts. Vice Chair Ted Lieu.
Thank you, Chairman Aguilar. We have an affordability crisis in America. Americans are drowning in bills and in debt, and we know grocery prices continue to increase, the cost of everyday items continue to increase. One large reason is because of Trump's tariffs, which are increasing prices. And what are Republicans doing? They're putting into a rules vote that we can't even introduce bills to challenge Trump's tariffs.
Of course, by recognizing the Epstein survivors who are here today. Virginia Giuffre's family traveled here because they believe, as I do, that what happened to Virginia and to all the victims here today and throughout the world must finally lead to change. And all you have to do is look at the faces of these beautiful women and just have total empathy for what they've gone through, admiration for their courage, and anger about what happened to them. So, thank you. Today, we're here to do something simple and long overdue. Today, I'm introducing Virginia's law, legislation to end statute of limitation barriers that have kept survivors of sexual violence from justice far too long, and to create new legal avenues to pursue justice. Because justice should not expire. Justice should not expire. And because for survivors, healing does not run on a government clock. I'm also so proud to be joined by Congresswoman Teresa Ledger Hernandez, not just chairwoman of the Democratic Women's Caucus, but she's always been a fierce advocate for survivors and a partner in this fight. She's a champion and a fighter, and that's what a bill like this requires. A fighter who will relentlessly push for the cause of justice. Justice. That's what we demand, justice. And here is World Without Exploitation, and Sigrid McCauley, whose work, along with the survivors, helped shape this legislation. We thank her. The bill exists. Why? Why does the bill exist? Because people refuse to accept silence as the end of the story. It's that simple. It cannot be when something this dastardly and this terrible and this heart-wrenching happens. For years, survivors of Epstein's abuse were ignored. They were doubted, they were silenced, they were dismissed. And even when the truth finally came out, even when the world finally listened, too many survivors were still told by the law, it's too late, your justice has expired. Not because the harm wasn't real, not because the abuse didn't happen, but because the system ran out the clock. When they were told, it's too late, your justice has expired, we aimed to change that. And that's what we're trying to do today. When you say the system ran out the clock, tough rocks, too bad, too late, that's not justice. That's a system that protects abusers by waiting survivors out. Our law, Virginia's law, changes that. It allows survivors to seek accountability when they're ready, when they're strong enough, supported enough, able to face the weight of civil litigation. Sometimes it takes years to recuperate from the horror that occurred. Why should the government say, well, we're setting an arbitrary time when you are able to pursue your case? Our law makes clear that abusers and those that enable them cannot escape responsibility by running out the clock. It makes clear that the law will empower survivors to pursue justice, and it recognizes something survivors have always known. Time does not erase harm. Time does not erase harm. Jeffrey Epstein depended on silence and fear, on a system that protected power instead of protecting people. Today we are saying no more. This bill carries Virginia Giuffre's name because she spoke when so many were told not to. And because her story and the story of the survivors standing here today, we salute you again, all of you, for your courage. These nice faces, it shouldn't have happened to you. It shouldn't have happened to you. So, no survivor should ever be told again that the law failed them and that time mattered more than truth. The survivors of Jeffrey Epstein have waited long enough. Virginia waited long enough. The time for justice is now, and Congress must act. So now let me call on our great leader in the House, Representative Teresa Leger Fernandez.
Thank you so much, Leader Schumer, for your amazing work on this issue, which is not new. You have championed these issues for many, many, many years in the House and in the Senate. But I want to also acknowledge the survivors. We have shed tears together because what happened was horrible. The cover-up and the abuse that continued by refusing to acknowledge the pain and the crimes and everything that happened was also an injustice. And that's what we are here to do today, to say that justice delayed is indeed justice denied. And one of the lines that the survivor shared with me early in the many meetings we've had, and it's chilling, it's a chilling warning that Jeffrey told them. He gave them this warning. He told the women and young girls, I have the government, I have the banks. In other words, you are powerless. Imagine hearing that from the man who abused you. Imagine being a young girl, a young woman already traumatized and being told that the system, the government, the institutions, the courts, the powerful are on his side. That he and those to whom you were trafficked are untouchable. That the world is made up of the powerful who are above the law, above reproach, and you are disposable as a mere object of sexual use and abuse. And for too long, those sexual predators have been protected by their wealth and power. And now, with the help of Donald Trump and Pam Bondi, the pedophiles and sexual predators are being protected by our government. But today, we're one step closer to proving Epstein wrong. But this bill is bigger than Epstein. It's bigger than the abuse that the victims endured. It takes years for victims of abuse to feel safe enough to come forward, and time should never be a weapon in the abuser's arsenal. Virginia's law eliminates the statute of limitations for key federal civil claims brought by survivors of trafficking and sexual exploitation. It includes a look-back window, so survivors who were previously barred, who were told, no, you do not have access to the courtroom, so they have time to now go back and seek justice. And it clarifies that traffickers cannot escape accountability by committing abuses in another jurisdiction. You don't get to escape prosecution by simply putting predators and victims on a plane to a private island, or a mansion in Florida, or a ranch in New Mexico. Because justice should not depend on a calendar. Justice should not depend on geography, and it should never depend on how powerful your abuser is. To Virginia Giuffre's family, thank you, thank you, thank you for letting us use her name in this law. It's her courage that we are honoring today with Virginia's law. Her courage unlocked the first set of gates that were protecting the rich and powerful. This bill will unlock the doors to the courthouse for the survivors. And to every Epstein co-conspirator and sexual predator, we're coming for you. And to Donald Trump and Pam Bondi, how dare you? How dare you use the Department of Justice, a government agency which by its name is intended to bring justice, to use it to prevent justice, to protect yourself and that predatory circle of abusers. And so I join with the senator and with the leader. Yes, let's pass this bill. Let's prove Epstein wrong. And now I want to recognize, as I was talking to Sky and Amanda Roberts, we talked about how they couldn't have imagined that this day would come. And we talked about how, yes, it's been a long journey. But before Virginia, there was one of those big arroyos or chasms that you see in New Mexico, right? There was no way to cross it. But what Virginia did was build a bridge. And now we are crossing that bridge because of the bravery and the words and the wisdom. And I'm sorry for the loss of Virginia. But she has left something so powerful for all victims. And so I'd now like to recognize Sky and Amanda Roberts.
That was a tearjerker. I am the crier in my family. I'm just going to throw that out there. So, all right. Hello, everyone. My name is Sky Roberts, and I am the brother of Virginia Roberts Giuffre. I am deeply honored to stand here today alongside some of the most extraordinary people you will ever meet, including World Without Exploitation, Congressman Chuck Schumer, Congresswoman Teresa Ledger Fernandez, survivors of Jeffrey Epstein, and the legendary Sigrid Macaulay. Known to many of us as Siggy. I want to begin with a single word. A word that meant everything to my sister. A word we will not stop fighting for until real justice is served. And that word is change. Virginia's dream was to inspire and empower survivors to come forward. In a world that too often turns away from abuse and pushes it into the shadows, she wanted to bring light. That light is change. Virginia's dream was to inspire and empower survivors to come forward. One of the main missions of her nonprofit, SOAR, was to eliminate the statute of limitations on adult sex trafficking. She talked about it all the time while elevating the voices of survivors, alongside her publicist and dear friend, Deanie Von Muffling. Today, we give Virginia her voice back. We amplify the voices of survivors around the world. Today, we send a clear message to perpetrators everywhere by introducing Virginia's Law. We are introducing Virginia's Law because survivors deserve justice, not expiration dates. Change must mean justice, not someday, not in speeches, not in private settlements, justice in law, justice in court, and justice in the form of consequence. Virginia's Law is more than legislation. It is a change in the truest form. It challenges how we see, how we confront, and how we respond to sexual abuse and sex trafficking, not just in theory, but in reality. We do not take this moment lightly. We are holding an overwhelming mix of grief, loss, and pride. And if our voices shake and our tears fall, it is only because of the depth of our love for our sister. Grief without action is another kind of silence, and Virginia did not survive what she survived just to be silenced again. And with that, I'd like to turn that over to my wife, Amanda.
Virginia was a passionate voice, a fierce warrior, and an unwavering advocate for survivors everywhere. She named what others were afraid to name. She stood up to wealth, status, and power, and she proved that having money does not guarantee exoneration in the eyes of the poor. Virginia's purpose was always to create lasting change. Her truth and resilience helped spark a monumental shift in how survivors are seen and heard. But she also knew cultural change is not enough. She saw the legal gaps survivors fall through, and she was determined to close them at the legislative level. Her wish was clear: to reform the statute of limitations. When a child, teenager, or adult experiences sexual abuse, it is a profound violation of both the body, mind, and spirit. The mind often protects itself in the only ways it can, through denial, disassociation, and silence. It can take years, even decades, before the walls of trauma begin to crack, and a victim can truly understand what happened. It takes time to unlearn grooming. It takes time to release the shame that never belonged to them in the first place. Statistically, many survivors do not disclose until around the age of 40. Virginia understood this not as a theory, but as a lived experience. Virginia's Law does more than honor her legacy. It protects the future of every survivor. It says legislatively and legally, we see you, we believe you, and what happened to you matters. It says, you deserve the right to seek justice, no matter the status, wealth, or power of the person who harmed you, and no matter when the abuse occurred. To every member of Congress, mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers, we ask you to stand with us, stand with survivors, and say no more. No more silence, no more systems that protect the powerful and deny justice to everyone else. No more laws that treat survivors as though time can erase harm. Pass Virginia's law. Let this be the moment this country chooses accountability over denial, courage over comfort, and justice over obstacles. Page 361, Nobody's Girl. We need to make it easier to punish those who victimize others. Siggy and I want to eliminate laws that limit the period in which survivors can seek justice for their abusers. Virginia put that into writing, and we're here to put that into law.
And with that, Siggy, that's what we're here to do today.
Such courage.
Now everybody knows my nickname. Sorry. This is really a watershed moment for survivor rights, the announcement of Virginia's law. And as you heard today, the genesis of that law is to get rid of the statute of limitations so that survivors can work on their own timeline. With the passage of this law, no longer can abusers weaponize the clock. Survivors can act when they're ready to act. As you heard, and as Virginia and I both experienced together, many survivors don't come to terms with their abuse until many, many years later. And they deserve the right to be able to bring an action when they're ready. That's what this law does. It is heartbreaking to be here announcing this without her. But I will tell you that her voice is being heard loud and clear. She is saying, all Americans, Democrats, Republicans, independents, all Americans need to come together and pass this law. It's the right thing to do. It's the thing we need to do now. So please, pass Virginia's law. Now I'm going to let Rebecca Zipkin come up from World We. Without this group, we wouldn't be here, so we're all very grateful for that.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rebecca Zipkin. I'm the Policy Director at World Without Exploitation, and we are the largest national anti-human trafficking and sexual exploitation coalition in the country. And we have had the true privilege of working closely with the survivors who are here today, and Sky and Amanda, to push forward advocacy to release the Epstein files. And today we are privileged to be here to speak in support of Virginia's law. Thank you so much to Leader Schumer and Congresswoman Leisure Fernandez for their championing of this legislation. Today we're here to support Virginia's law, named Virginia Roberts Giuffre, whose courage helped expose one of the most far-reaching sex trafficking networks in modern history. Virginia's story is not just about one man, it's about a system of wealth, power, and protection that allowed abuse to continue for years while survivors were silenced, disbelieved, or legally shut down. Virginia spoke the truth, and she paid the price for it. She did so knowing that accountability might never come, not because the abuse didn't happen, but because the law said it was too late. That is why eliminating the statute of limitations for civil claims by adult survivors of sex trafficking is so critical. Trafficking is not a single moment of harm. It is a prolonged, coercive, and deeply traumatizing experience. Survivors often cannot name what happened to them as abuse until years later. They may be threatened, manipulated, financially dependent, or psychologically trapped. Many are children when the abuse begins. Others are groomed into believing they consented when in reality, consent was impossible. The statute of limitations does not account for this reality. Instead, it functions as a legal shield for abusers and the institutions that enabled them. It cuts off accountability before survivors ever had the meaningful chance to come forward. Virginia's law recognizes a simple truth: healing does not follow a legal deadline. Eliminating the statute of limitations does not guarantee survivors will sue. It simply gives them the choice. It restores agency, and it sends a clear message that time does not erase responsibility. Jeffrey Epstein did not operate alone. He relied on enablers, the men who were the buyers, the exploiters, and the abusers. Many of those individuals and institutions have never been held accountable, not because the facts are unknown, but because the courthouse doors have been closed. When civil claims are barred by time, accountability disappears. Virginia's law changes that. It tells survivors you were not too late, you were harmed, and the law will no longer be used to protect those who harmed you. And it tells the public that justice does not disappear simply because an arbitrary amount of time has passed. Justice is not about convenience, it's about courage. Passing Virginia's law is not about reopening the past, it's about finally confronting it. And we owe survivors, all of the survivors here today, and the thousands around the world, nothing less.
Let me say to Sky and so the Bible tells us when something terrible happens to people, the natural inclination is to curse the darkness, to turn inward, be angry. But the Bible also tells us it's like angelic to light a candle, to create light, to prevent what happened to your loved one from it happening to anyone else. You are lighting a candle. We thank you. Okay. We'll take questions on this subject. Yes.
Thank you very much. Mark Stone from Sky News in the United Kingdom. Thank you for inviting us here. That was a very powerful news conference. I have a question for you, Mr. Roberts, if that's right, and also for you, Senator Schumer. Mr. Roberts, the photograph of the then Prince Andrew with his arm around your sister has become, certainly in the UK, a defining part of this scandal. Clearly, he is one person who hasn't answered questions here. What is your message to Andrew Batten Windsor today, please?
I think he should show up in front of our Congress and answer questions. I think that he has a lot of questions he needs to answer, and he has been exploited through these files to have inconsistencies in his own messaging. So I want today to be about Virginia's law, to not allowing this to happen again, but to Prince Andrew, former Prince Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, to be specific. He needs to show up. He needs to show up, and he needs to answer questions in front of our Congress.
Thank you, sir. And Senator Schumer, what was your message to...
He ought to, same thing as what Sky said. He ought to show up and show up now. Yes.
I have a question for you both and survivors in general. Do you believe that current officials, including Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, should resign given their proven ties and connections to Epstein?
I think we are far behind the UK when it comes to social justice. I think that I think that we are starting to see a form of social justice here, and this is exactly why Virginia's law is so important, because legislatively it says that they can no longer hide, and that's where we're going to focus, the change that we can create.
Yes.
Mr. Leader, I'm wondering when you plan to go down to the Department of Justice to view some of the files and what you plan to look for when you go down.
Look, the whole file should be released completely. We got them to agree to let people come down. We have to make an appointment, and a number of my colleagues and I are considering doing that very soon.
What are you going to look for?
Everything. What's not disclosed, period. Yes.
Can you outline how this legislation builds on the bill that President Biden signed a few years ago? Were there shortcomings that this tries to fix? And you also mentioned new avenues for legal action. Can you kick off any of those?
Yeah, the bottom line is we want this to be, our law has no loopholes. We don't want any loopholes in this law because the lawyers for those who did such terrible things will exploit them. That's number one. And number two, we're going to pursue every legal avenue we can. Okay. All right. Thank you. What do you want?
Yeah.
Last answer for Teresa.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to recognize that we need to provide protections and an avenue to the courtroom for everybody, whether you were a minor or an adult when you were abused. And we do need to go and see those files. I will be going, I believe, tomorrow morning. But the idea that we have to make an appointment and that they're scrutinizing and that they have failed to disclose under the Epstein Transparency Act half of the files. And when they've done so heavily redacted, protecting the predators and exposing their survivors. So we need to call out those actions by the Department of Justice at all times.
We are not going to rest till all the files are released, period. Whatever means we have to pursue. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, folks, that is the rest of that press conference. We do want to take a shot of I-77 at mile 8 near Remount Road because we had updated you around the 8 o'clock hour when we hit the air. And it looks like things are nearly clear. Still have a cruiser to the side there finishing up any other paperwork, obviously, that has to be done after a crash like that. We did see 2 of the 3 lanes on I-77 shut down at one point around the 7 o'clock hour, but they made quick work of that multi-vehicle crash. Seems like nobody was transported in this accident, so that is good news. We'll send you to primetime coverage on WCNC Charlotte, but we'll see you tonight at 11.